What's going on, everybody, and today we are back at it again with another video. And in today's video, I'm about to tell you what my journey has been like since I surrendered myself to God. I'll tell you how I went from just believing He exists into fully committing my life to Him. So let's get right into it. My story begins 2 years ago when God took away what seemed to be a big part of my life at the time. And if you want to know the full extent of where it all began for me, you can check out my very first video on YouTube, which you can find right here. And I'll link it down in the description. So this is kind of like a part 2 to that story. But to sum up what happened, I lost a car, which held up a lot of my confidence and practically how I viewed myself in this world. After this loss, I tried to rediscover myself. And I found my way back to God. I basically got really into my faith. So I went to church, I watched live sermons on the internet, I read the Bible, because I found out that I was headed in the wrong direction. That being surrounded with all these materialistic things, it was really starting to get into my head. So I then came into this realization that maybe losing that car was the best for me. And I truly believe that all faith can be restored through Him, because I know that God has plans to prosper me, not to harm me. So one day I was praying to Him and I told Him, God, I am ready to surrender my life to You. I also told Him that I am prepared for any changes You want to do in my life. I am fully committed to fulfill Your will on earth. So I asked God, what do You want me to do? And on August 7th, 2019, God gave me a vision. He told me to lose this very thing that gives me freedom to be anywhere. And since I don't have my own car, I was borrowing my mom's car at the time. So He basically wanted me to walk, bike, or take transit. So before I gave my mom's car back, I tried to be a good steward. So I bought her a completely new set of tires before I returned the car to her. So it was August when He gave me the vision, and it was September when I actually gave the car back. This vision is very, very special because God gave me a choice to either keep the car or trust Him with His word. So I chose to trust God. And here's what's crazy. If you're familiar with Canada's weather, Alberta's weather in particular, winter can start as early as October. Even though I've been hearing people and the news saying that this year is gonna be really bad for winter, but I still chose to trust God. So my main way of getting around is by walking. Usually I try to ride the bike, but if it's too snowy or if it's too slushy, I choose to walk by obvious reasons. Anyway, I work a full-time job, so that's mostly where I go every single day. And it takes me an hour and a half to go there and back. And I'll show you a map right now so you can see. People might be wondering, don't you ever get cold while walking? What about the snow? What about the wind? What about this and that? And I have one answer for you guys, and that is, I never felt any of it. God took care of me. There will be times when I look out in the window before I start my walk and it will be snowing, it'll be very windy. And I just look up and pray to Him, God, if You could, just make it pause for a little while and help me get to my destination safe. And literally, as soon as I walk out that door, the snowing stops, the wind stops, and then I start my walk, that hour and a half walk, and then I get to my destination and then bam! 3 inches of snow right on the ground. And He helped me get to my destination first before He lets the snow falls. People might be asking, why not take the bus or the train? Well, my main reason of not taking those things is it almost takes the same time as walking, and walking is free. But I have a really, really crazy story about taking transit through this journey with God. You see, there was a time here in Alberta where it was minus 40 consistently for a whole week. See, before that week comes, I was checking my phone, and in the weather's app, I kept refreshing the page, seeing if it's gonna change. It didn't. But then God did something really amazing. He gave me access to public transport for little to nothing. And I got to ride the bus and the train to work. He didn't want me to be exposed in minus 40 weather. And those are the little things that He does for me that keep me motivated to keep going with this walk of faith. But what about a car? Why not just get a beater car just to get you through winter? And as tempting as that sounds, that is not part of what God asked me to do. To give you another perspective to this, my parents actually offered me that they would buy a second-hand car for me. I told them I appreciate the offer, but I have to turn it down. I don't want to go against God's will and buy another car and remain the same person I was before. #stride. I told him that God's promise is just too good to pass up on. God gave me this prosperous life, this abundant life, and through a vision, and I just can't pass up on that. It's just too good for a second-hand car. You know, I have nothing against second-hand cars, but it's just too good for that. And I trust him with his word for that. So I've been in this crazy walk of faith, this literal walk of faith, for almost 5 months now, and I'm still doing it. I thought this walk would just make me humble, but in fact it changed me. It made me more generous, more loving, more forgiving. My patience grew even longer. To give you another picture, there will be times where I come home from work and I'll be super hungry, and my girlfriend would ask me, "Why are you so hungry?" And I'd tell her that on my way to work I ran across this homeless man and I gave him my whole lunch. That's why there will be times when I look up and just tell God that I am grateful for what he has done in my life. He has changed me. You know, I look in the mirror and I go, who is this guy? You know, because before I was full of pride, I was stingy, especially with money, I was a liar, I was a manipulator. Pretty much I was not a very good person. But that's the thing with God. It doesn't matter where you came from, or what your history is, or who you are. He is going to accept you as long as you repent. Remember the parable of the lost sheep. There's a part there that goes, there will be more rejoicing in heaven over one sinner who repents than the 99 righteous ones that doesn't. So like I said, it doesn't matter who you are or what you've been up to. That's called the unconditional love of God. That's the beauty of the God we serve. That is the love that is undeserved and unearned. You know, and that's just what's crazy about it, is he loves you. He still loves you. So when he takes something away from you, or he makes you go through something, remember not to feel bad. Just know that he knows better than you. Remember that these challenges and the season that you're in is perfectly orchestrated to prepare you for the next season of blessing. It clearly states in the book of James verses 2-4, it goes, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, for whenever you face trials of any kinds, because those are supposed to mature you and to perfect you. So on the next season of your life, you will be lacking nothing." Now we all know that growing up and change is never comfortable. But when you allow God, you're also allowing good change to happen in your life. So you're prepared for anything that comes in the next season or in the next chapter of your life. Now I don't know when, how, or what else God has in store for me, but I want to capture every single moment of it for the whole world to see his amazing grace. Now I already told you guys that this is like a part 2 to my very first video on YouTube. And all I know is there's gonna be a part 3, part 4, part 5, part 6, part infinity. So I would consider subscribing so you could witness God's amazing grace. Also, to make you guys feel a part of this journey, I want you guys to comment down below what God has asked you to do. You know, I know sometimes he makes us do some crazy stuff, and I want to hear your stories too. Anyway, I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you like this content, remember to click that like button down below. Share this video to everyone that you know. I hope you guys have a blessed day and you continue to keep praying. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.